You're coming up my driveway right now. This is Mike Schwartz talking to you, by the way. Ahead of you, it may be a garage to you, but it's actually the home of Mud Music Studio. My wife got me this sign for my one of my birthdays. I've been here since 1999. Took my first pottery lesson after I retired in 1995. The process starts with taking a lump of clay, centering it on my wheel, I hope you can see that, and throwing various shapes. The shapes can be somewhat repetitive at times, however, each one is done independently of any other piece, so they're never exactly alike in form. Making pottery is not a Ford assembly line opportunity. Pit firing is an ancient form of firing. It predates the kiln, although at one point early on, as I'm making a piece, I will use the kiln in a certain way that I'll describe. But it predates the use of the kiln. Just about every ancient culture has some type of pit firing. For those of you who are familiar with the pit firing done by the American Indians in the southwestern part of the country, you may be familiar with this family that does these pitched fire, rather pitch black pieces. They're well known, and they call big prices. At the risk of offending you out there, I decided that I had enough shit in my life and wanted to go for color. The Indians used dung, hence my using the four-letter word. The Indians used buffalo dung to fire their pots and got their blacks. I instead use salts and metals. I do not use glazes. Everything that you see is from the interaction of fire and smoke working on the salts and metals that I treat my pieces with. In fact, I've done shows in the past where I would refer to the title of the show as the same but different. The title of this show involves pleasing the eye and the spirit, which is much more in keeping with decorative pottery, and I hope you enjoy my work. The first step is to take a lump of clay, make sure there are no air pockets in it, otherwise these will explode and ruin your piece. And I throw the clay to the wheel, make my form. After that, depending upon the weather, it takes a certain amount of time to dry, and when it gets to having enough moisture that it's known as leather hard, it is then trimmed in various ways. After that, I wait to have anywhere from 12 to 15 pieces. Do a preliminary firing in the kiln, which immediately makes me different from the ancients, called a bisque firing, B-I-S-Q-U-E. And this leaves the pot porous so that the fumes, once I'm firing it again in the fire itself, have some place to go. After the pots are thoroughly dry, I use copper carbonate. I use something called etchant, which is a solution of ferric chloride and hydrochloric acid. For that one, I put on rubber gloves. I put the salts on in a wet solution using sponges to dab them in place. I use various metals to get designs. For example, this design is from the copper mesh of a copper scrubby that you use for dishes. The colors, this is from a combination of copper carbonate, and that's actually some Miracle Grow thrown in there, as well as the etchant. This green color is certainly from copper carbonate. In any event, this is the way that the pots look after they've been washed, removed from the fire, washed, and allowed to dry. The colors are there, but the next step and the final step, which I'll show you at the end of this recording, is to wax them. I use kiwi neutral shoe polish. to give it a non-scuffable finish. The finish I describe as a satiny sheen, and it's marvelous to do.